It's December 16th, 2024. I'm with Mr. John J. Jeckovich, and we're reading his book, Their Mother's Sons. The book is approximately 900 pages long, and we're on the 22nd chapter and page 677 today, and this chapter is titled Wedding Jitters and a New Life. How are you doing today, Mr. Jeckovich?
Good, I'm doing good.
Boy, you look fancy in that Indian-made sweater.
Oh yeah.
Nice pants.
Indian made.
Indian-made. It was done by Chief Billy's tribe. Chief Billy was one of the Indians that was instrumental in bringing the casinos to Florida. Chief Billy's retired now, but his family sent that to you, so it's very nice. Today is the 80th anniversary of the beginning of the Battle of Bulge. Is it hard to believe that 80 years went by?
88 years, yeah.
80 years. Does it feel like yesterday you were starting the Battle of Bulge? Does it feel like yesterday you were starting the Battle of Bulge?
Yeah.
So before I start reading your notes and your book, what is your dog tag number?
42965.
Okay. Here's some notes from Mr. Jeckovich pertaining to the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Bulge. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the start of the Battle of Bulge. On 16 December 1944, Hitler launched a surprise counter-offensive against the Allies in the Ardennes Forest region of Belgium. The bloodiest battle of the U.S. forces during World War II, the Bulge was marked by a bitter fighting and freezing temperatures. However, following this Allied victory, German forces could only retreat for the remainder of the war. Do you remember the weather?
Oh, it's cold, cold, cold.
Are you still suffering from the weather?
Yeah, frostbite right there.
Mr. Jeckovich still has frostbite from 80 years ago, and every time it gets cold,
It drops.
bothers him tremendously. The situation in September 1944 was dire for the Nazi Germany. The Western Allies had landed in Normandy in June, advancing across the northern France and Belgium and towards Germany. An interesting note is the Nazis occupied Paris for 4 years, correct? And at that time there, after you and several other American soldiers ran them out, they were no longer in Paris. They were gone. They were run out. But your close friend then, who was a Roman Catholic nun, found out that her parents were killed and tortured by the Nazis. And I imagine her parents, she was only 20, so I imagine her parents were like in the early 40s. And then shortly after that, she was notified at the convent that her two younger brothers were tortured and killed by the Nazis. So what did she do then? Renee
gave up her nunnery stuff and went in active duty.
And she went in active duty in what?
Resistance.
The French resistance. Did you go to the headquarters?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
Down in the sewer.
Down in the sewer.
Place, yeah.
But they were never detected.
Yeah.
And Renee was also a great artist, and she had painted portraits. And who'd she paint portraits of?
High-ranking general officers. They looked at their faces, not photographs, but painted. Somebody painted their face, and she was very good at it.
You're very good. And when you went to see her first time in the apartment, what was your thoughts?
I saw a lot of German faces.
Yeah.
German higher-ups.
And what was the reason why Renee, from the French resistance, was painting the high-ranking Nazi officers' portraits?
Information.
She gained information. They never suspected her being...
Well, after a while they did, yeah. They killed her, yeah.
Well, at the time, they didn't. But once they found out she was in French resistance, what happened to Renee?
She took out the wood and shot her.
Shot her and shot her. And the reason why we mention this as part of Paris, it was occupied, is that when it was occupied by the Nazis, it's unbelievable that the Eiffel Tower was never destroyed.
No.
In fact, a little tidbit of information you might or might not know, when the Nazis occupied Paris, Hitler went there to take the elevator ride up to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And what the people that ran the Eiffel Tower did is they shut off the power of the elevator and they told him it was broken, so he had to do the stairs all the way to the top. That was one of the tricks the beautiful French did.
Yeah.
Well, and it's an interesting fact, speaking of the Eiffel Tower, which is very high, Hitler was very, very scared of heights. In fact, in his beautiful palace that he built way up in the mountains, he very rarely would take an elevator there because him and heights didn't get along too well. So we're still talking about celebrating the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Bulge. The situation in September 1944 was dire for Nazi Germany. The Western Allies had landed in Normandy in June, advancing across northern France and Belgium towards Germany. Things were going almost as badly eternally for Hitler, who had become more and more paranoid following assassination attempts on July. Hitler was getting extremely paranoid about assassination attempts. And he had people testing his food, thousands of bodyguards around him. In fact, some of his closest associates, where he thought might be planning to assassinate him, he automatically had them killed. He was basically out of control. He has a schizophrenia problems. So here we go. On the 16th of September, here we're getting right into the Bulge now. On the 16th of September 1944, Hitler set out a plan of attack on his last-ditch effort to attempt to win what was becoming an unwinnable war.
Yeah.
So even though he knew that the odds are very slim that he'd win the war, he did the last-ditch effort. Launched exactly 3 months later, here we are, December, the offensive was intended to split the Allied lines, allowing the Germans to encircle and destroy each of the 4 Allied armies. That's what his thoughts were when he started this on December 16, 1944. The Germans achieved a total surprise attack on the morning of 16 December 1944. Taking advantage of the poor weather condition, they grounded the Allies' superior air force for extended period. So the bad weather didn't allow the American and British soldiers, pilots, to bomb.
Yeah.
They were stuck. They couldn't take the planes up. American forces were using this region primarily as a rest area for the U.S. First Army. So the U.S. Army was not even a battle position. They were using that area as a rest area at that point.
Yeah.
And the lines were thinly held by fatigued troops and inexperienced replacement units. So when the Battle of Bulge started, Hitler had 600,000 men, and where the location was, these weren't Americans ready to fight. These were Americans who just came off of fighting and were looking for a place to rest.
Yeah.
And the rest of the soldiers there were simply green. They had no experience whatsoever.
19 years old.
Yeah, 18, 19 years old. So it was a perfect situation for Hitler to take advantage of it. Improved weather conditions around the 24th December permitted air attacks on German forces and the supply lines. And on 26 December, the lead element of Patton's U.S. Third Army reached Bastogne from south, ending the siege. So now we got Patton into the act, and the weather's clearing up. So now the Americans can start defending themselves and putting a ton more American troops that were ready to fight. Bitter fighting continued until 28 January 1945, when the front line was effectively restored to its position prior to the attack. Here we go. The Battle of Bulge was the bloodiest battle for the U.S. forces during World War II and set back the Allied invasion of Germany by several weeks. However, it marked the last major offensive attempted by Hitler on the Western Front. After this defeat, Nazi forces could only retreat for the remainder of the war. So after the Battle of Bulge, the Nazis just continued
Yeah,
retreating.
they disappeared. They disappeared.
And that was the end of Hitler's life. He committed suicide. But, that war, the European theater wound down once Hitler committed suicide. Because those young boys, he had Nazi soldiers as young as 13.
Yeah.
They wanted no part of it. They wanted just to retreat
Yeah.
and get out of this damn war. But in the Pacific, the war kept moving on.
Yeah.
And there were so many fanatical Japanese fighters.
They're
They
still
were
there,
just
still,
fighting. And in fact, it's interesting to say, but it's a fact. It's a known fact. Some of the last Japanese fighters from World War II didn't stop until 1974.
Yeah.
They hid out in tunnels, hid out in fields, wherever they could hide out. And in their mind, the war was still on.
Yeah.
Till 1974. 20-some years
Fanatics,
later.
fanatics.
Fanatics, yeah. So this is the anniversary. This is the anniversary of the Battle of Bulge. 80 years. 80 years.
What does Dad remember of it?
What do you remember of starting in the Battle of Bulge, and what do you remember in ending of the Battle of Bulge? You can take this.
Okay.
What do you remember?
Well, the cold weather. First of all, the cold weather. Snow.
And you're still suffering.
We didn't have the equipment. We didn't have the equipment.
What type of boots did you
We
have?
wore boots I wore when I went to school. The buckle boots.
So the buckle boots,
They didn't do nothing.
thin rubber.
They're just thin rubber. That's where I got transferred. The shoulders were losing their feet and everything.
And where did the good heavy equipment go?
To the here in the rear end.
The rear echelon.
Yeah.
But they didn't fight on the front line.
Well, they took it and sold it.
They sold it. Was there a big black market?
Oh yeah, tremendous big black market.
They
Yeah.
would sell anything.
Oh yeah. That German, that American general, he bought that stupid boat, $1 million boat, and shipped it to Minneapolis,
Okay.
free.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's still going on today.
Oh yeah.
That's still going on.
Looting, they're looting.
Yeah, they're still going on today. It was extremely dangerous for American GIs to have on their person anything related to a Nazi soldier. What would happen if the Nazis caught you and you had one of their pistols?
They shoot you right there.
Right on the spot.
Yeah.
There'd be no questions asked. Wow. That is absolutely amazing. It is absolutely.
Lots going on there.
Mr. Jeckovich was from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. His division was affectionately called the Diaper Division. Why was that?
They're all 33s, 19-year-olds.
33 is the Army code indicating 19 years old.
Combat ready. Combat ready.
That's the fighting age. That's the fighting age. And many people think a 19-year-old stamina, a 19-year-old endurance would be the same as a 25 years old. But they're wrong.
No.
Even by the time you get 25, you don't have the stamina, nor do you have the endurance that a 19-year-old
Yeah.
has. That is still the situation today. They want you in there as a fighting age as a teenager. It's a simple fact. But many 25-year-olds, oh no, they think they're the same, but honestly, they can't hold a candle to the
No.
stamina, the endurance.
Of a 30-year-old, 19-year-old kid,
No,
yeah.
they can't. They simply can't do it. Many young men were killed during World War II. Many were killed during the Battle of Bulge. And people that don't understand war will say, let's look for peace. Let's find peace. Well, newsflash, you're never going to find peace. Wars have been going on for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they'll go on for thousands and thousands of years more. You'll never find peace. There'll always be wars.
And somebody's always looking for more.
Always be more. And that's why it's sad to say, but they're like the greatest generation. These kids are all street smart. They came up from the Depression, scraping by to get a loaf of bread or a piece of bread. They're street smart. And that's why many of them survived. Mr. Jeckovich was street smart. However, he was beat up, shot, stabbed. He had bombs go off. He still has shrapnel in his leg above him. Frostbite, trench foot. The list is long. So if you're not street smart, and if you're a complainer, you would never make it.
No.
How were the guys during World War II, the young soldiers like yourself, that were book smart and not street smart?
Well, they survived.
That some of them survived.
Some of them
What about Donald Lape? He was street.
And he wasn't street smart. I tried to hang on to him, but I lost him.
And what happened to Donald Lape?
Well, he didn't listen to what he was told to do. He didn't listen.
And wasn't he just using his pistol a lot? Pistol?
Yeah, he shot the pistol, but he shot at nothing. That pistol had a range of what, 150 feet.
And while he was assigned to you, running a heavy-duty machine gun that shoots out 500 to 1,000 rounds.
Well, he was a Jeep driver. That's all he was.
And he didn't make it.
No.
An interesting fact we just found out, a little too late though, that Donald Lape's younger brother only lived 2 blocks away from Mr. Jeckovich for 25 years. That would have been a beautiful reunion right there to talk about Mr. Jeckovich, right-hand man at the machine gun nest, and Donald Lape's younger brother, but it didn't happen. Donald Lape's younger brother passed away, and so there was never any communications at all.
Well, he wasn't in the war at all.
No, he's too young.
Yeah.
He was too young. And so that's what we have of this great anniversary, and it's a wonderful thing. We started off during World War II with 16,400,000 young men and women. And now almost all of them are gone. We have maybe 60,000 of the rear echelon. And what primarily did the rear echelon do?
They supported first-line troops.
They were critical.
They were critical, yeah.
Food, medical attention.
Yeah.
But they never seen the front lines.
No, they never did. Well, that wasn't their job.
Did the rear echelon also carry weapons?
Oh, yeah. They put a pistol on their belt and that's it.
That was it.
Yeah.
But with the front line fighters, like Mr. Jeckovich, we have only about 6,000 left. 6,000 left since World War II. And we're losing them at a rate of 150 today. So there you go. Here's the real thing. Here's the real thing. But getting back, talking about wars were always in the past, they'll always be in the future. Don't think for a minute that we'll ever have peace worldwide, because there won't be. Oh, you'll have these foolish guys from Columbia or Harvard, you know the type, bald-headed with long ponytails, thinking they're going to save the world and bring peace. It'll never happen. These guys wouldn't know even how to fight.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even know how to fight. They have a great big speech, but nothing ever happens. They wouldn't even have the guts to go on the front line. People have to realize, to be right you must fight. To fight you must be right. That's how it is, and it's so true now, past and future. Here's the golden rule. The golden rule is simple. He who holds the gold rules. He who holds the gold rules. So we're going to always have this controversy, and it's never ending. And we have the greatest generation in front of us. These are true fighters. But we are worried now about this present generation. I don't think any of them were street fighters. I don't think any of them
They don't want to go. They're not interested in that.
I don't think, the mothers destroyed a lot of them. The mothers made it too easy on them. How could you stick a young boy now where he sits on the couch 25, 30 years old? Mother's been babysitting him. Mother's been working 2 jobs to keep him alive. How would you stick him in a World War III?
They're weak.
Weak, yeah. We don't want to have a generation of losers, for God's sakes. We're in that direction of having a generation of losers. Oh, you think you're going to solve the problems by reading a book? Well, that's all good. But we need hardcore fighters.
Well, see, we were brought up in the Depression. That was hardcore.
Yeah,
They avoided that.
Yeah, but now everyone's got it easy. And it's not good. It's not good. Minutes, please?
9.
It's not good. So we're facing the greatest generation, a young soldier, 18 and 19, and he's right here. So if you have any questions for this man, World War II vet on the Battle of Bulge Day anniversary, text them at 407-366-0000. Text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. Or how we say a little bit differently, we're a little bit odd on our island of Hague Point to Fusqueau in South Carolina. We say it a little differently because we are different. Text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. Text Mr. John J. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. This is about the 419th podcast, and Mr. Jeckovich has, I believe, done a great service of educating the younger people about World War II. So if you ever have any questions about World War II or want to read about its history, you could go and Google his name and you could see all the different readings he had. Is this about selling books?
No.
Is your book for sale?
No.
Mr. Jeckovich's book is never bought for sale. It's not about money. These book sales wouldn't change his bank account by one penny. He's doing this as a public service so people could understand what the wars were like, in the good and the bad, and what life was like, what family was like in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So it's very interesting, and all these foreigner podcasts are there for your listening, and hope you pick up something good. I truly do. I truly do. Well,
Do you think the young people today are going to listen? No, they're not going to listen.
I hope so. I hope so. I firmly believe there's more good people on this earth than bad. I believe there's more good people on this earth than bad. But they got to get tough. We don't want to have a generation of losers. We don't want these guys, once again, from Columbia and Yale and Harvard, you know the kind, with the bald head and the ugly-looking ponytail, telling people how to live their lives, but they have no fighting experience. If you don't have fighting experience and you don't fight and you're not tough...
Yeah, but they're writing books.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean jack shit. But for example, if there wasn't young men like Mr. Jeckovich, you'd be probably speaking German now, and you wouldn't have all these beautiful liberties you have today. You have a lot of liberties, but you have to appreciate them. You have to prepare yourself. You can't be ignorant of the fact that you're ignorant and not understand that wars might be knocking on your door at any time. Just a fact, just the way it is. So there it is, 80th anniversary of the Battle of Bulge. Mr. Jeckovich is knocking on the door of 100. Soon, Mr. Jeckovich will be celebrating the 79th anniversary of his 21st birthday. Soon, Mr. Jeckovich will be celebrating the 79th anniversary of his 21st birthday. He'll soon be 100 years old. Not many of them can make it to that number. Not many of them can make it to that number. the production guys in the back office always have a joke about Mr. Jeckovich's age. I love it, they tell me from time to time. They say if an atom bomb hit the United States, there'd be only three things left. A cockroach, Cher, and John J. Jeckovich. They tell me this all the time.
Oh, I heard that. I never heard that.
Well, the back production staff has said that to me more than once. If an atom bomb hit the United States and everyone was gone, three items left. A cockroach, Cher, and Mr. John J. Jeckovich. Is that correct? Is that
I never
correct?
heard that. I never heard that.
Well, that's what, they're not talking behind your back, they're complimenting you. They mean that you take a lick and you keep on ticking. Let's face it. You've been beat up, you've been stabbed, you've been shot, trench foot, frostbite. Oh man, there's no, what else can they?
Lost a hip. I got
Lost a hip.
prosthetic hip.
Metal still in your leg? What? How much more can one person take? And look at this guy. Take a close look. Zoom in on this guy. Zoom in. He's sharp as a 30 or 40-year-old. He reads the newspaper, 3 of them every morning, with no glasses at all. And he's writing his second book. Oh, by the way, this book here is in the World War II Museum in New Orleans, and that's a copy of it there. And also, they're setting up an AI booth for Mr. Jeckovich, so 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, he'll have his own booth right there. People of the next generations could ask questions and it'll be coming out in his voice. It'll be very interesting. It's expensive to set up, but it's worth every penny. It's worth every penny.
Hey, when the Battle of the Bulge was going on, did John know what it was, or what?
When the Battle of the Bulge was going on, did you soldiers term it as that, or you just thought it was a fluid war?
We thought it was just the beginning of the
There wasn't no
regular
term.
war, yeah.
Because you're always moving. You'd shoot up 1,000 rounds, then your whole staff would pick up the tripod, pick up the machine gun,
Move.
and move. And what happens if you didn't move?
When they zero in on you and kill you.
I see. And then you're out in the snow, out 20 below, for 2, 3, 4 months. Were you just constantly shivering?
Oh, yeah.
Just constantly shivering. And you had an opportunity to say to go to an abandoned farmhouse, but why did you never take it for shelter?
They were zero in. I told them, you get yourself a barn outside, a fire barn with straw, and we sleep there.
And that happened.
Stay out of the houses. Stay out of the houses.
Would you be talking to your fellow soldiers about just, whatever's going on, or what was your day like?
What?
When you were with your soldiers out in the cold? Would you talk to each other?
What were they doing?
Yeah, like.
Well, they knew they were the war. They knew they get a hardship taken out of 19 years old.
Yeah.
Getting frostbite, get killed, and everything else. They couldn't sleep in a house, they had to sleep in a barn.
And what happened when you were in the barn? You were surprised at one time at 2 or 3 in the morning. What happened?
Well, posted and camouflaged the Jeep well enough that Patton picked it up, coming at 3 o'clock in the morning, pouring rain outside. He says, you guys are sleeping, get your ass up and get the hell out of it. Go, 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 go.
And that was it, right?
That was it, yeah.
Did you ever see Patton again?
Huh?
Did you ever see Patton again?
No.
An interesting thing
Well,
about Patton.
he got killed after that, yeah.
I'm just taking a picture for you.
Me?
No, of you.
How many minutes?
1.
So the interesting fact, everyone, all of your fellow associates, all your military personnel that was leaving the Battle of Bulge when the European theater was winding down, they were all very concerned and worried that they would be sent to the Pacific.
Yeah.
Did that happen?
No, that would happen, but not when they dropped the bomb.
Yeah, but there was only one soldier that was anxiously wanting to go to the Pacific.
And it was Patton, yeah.
Patton. And what he wanted to get the German wars done, he wants to go to the Pacific. But what did you folks say or nickname Patton about? Blood and guts?
Blood and guts. His guts and our blood.
10 seconds.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
Your blood and his guts.
Yeah, we'll pick this up tomorrow.
Okay, another one in the books.